Sometimes you encounter a place where the people themselves are just an incredible living archive of history.
Hmm.
That's precisely what you find in Madagascar just by, well, looking at the faces around you. You see hints of East Africa beautifully blended with features that really remind you of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it's striking.
It's a striking visual tapestry and, frankly, unlike almost anywhere else on Earth.
Truly unique.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into what makes Madagascar's people look so different. Because this isn't just, a coincidence. It's the profound outcome of one of the most remarkable human migration sagas in history. Really fascinating stuff.
Absolute.
Our mission today is to unpack this unique blend. We'll be drawing on recent genetic studies, historical accounts, and just what you see, what you observe when you're there. We're going to explore how these different ancestries shaped not just a nation, but a people's very appearance.
Exactly. And the nuance of appearance in Madagascar is, it's really a living record. It's not just about looking different. It's a profound visual representation of its history and its deep-seated identity. We'll see how the very faces you encounter tell this incredible story of global connection and, well, synthesis.
Okay, so let's start with that first impression. If you were to just say, walk around Madagascar, and maybe through the bustling streets of the capital, Antananarivo,
Hmm.
what would immediately strike you about the people?
That's a great starting point. What stands out immediately is how you can see these two, well, distinct ancestries, almost side by side. You might observe someone with, say, bronze skin and those really distinct almond-shaped eyes. That's a clear reflection of Austronesian ancestry.
Austronesian meaning from island Southeast Asia, like Borneo, right?
Exactly, yeah, that part of the world. Then, just around the corner, you can easily encounter someone with deep brown skin and tightly coiled hair, vividly recalling East African roots.
So it's not uniform across the island then. Does it get even more pronounced, these visual differences, as you move between regions?
Oh, absolutely. The visual tapestry becomes even richer when you consider the regional variations.
Yeah.
In the Central Highlands, for instance, groups like the Merina often display generally lighter skin tones and straighter hair.
Okay.
But then you venture to the coasts, and you'll find communities like the Sakalava and Bitsimisaraka. They tend to exhibit darker skin and curlier hair textures. It's a remarkable living map, really, of these different ancestral contributions.
Wow.
This visible blend is what makes them so uniquely Malagasy. They truly don't fit neatly into any single category. Their appearance is, in essence, a living record of two continents separated by the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean.
It's like peeling back layers, isn't it? Each physical feature revealing another chapter of this incredible human journey. What story do their eyes tell us, for instance, about this dual heritage?
Well, for eye color, it's interesting. Over 95% of Malagasy people have dark brown eyes, which is, pretty typical for both African and Asian populations. So that's common ground. But you do see rare exceptions, less than 3% maybe, with lighter shades like hazel, and that's usually more common in those highland groups.
The ones with more Austronesian ancestry.
Precisely. Those genetically closer to their Austronesian roots. It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about their mixed background.
And I imagine albinism stands out quite vividly then, too. I read it's more common there.
Yes, that's right. Albinism has a higher incidence in Madagascar, something like 1 in 3,000, 5,000 births. So individuals with albinism, light skin, blonde hair, blue or gray eyes, they stand out very vividly against the predominantly dark features.
Okay. And the skin tones you mentioned, they must be just as varied, given these different ancestries.
They are indeed. This spectrum is perhaps most vividly painted across their skin tones. It's quite clear. Highland groups like the Merina and Betsileo often have medium brown to sort of light bronze skin. And we have genetic studies, relatively recent ones from 2018, that tell us these populations can show up to 65–70% Austronesian ancestry.
Okay, that's significant.
Yeah. Then you have the coastal groups, Sakalava, Betsimisaraka, and Tandroy down south, who typically display darker brown to deep ebony tones. Here, the African ancestry is stronger, with studies suggesting they lean closer to 60–70% African. Plus, there's adaptation to the intense coastal sun involved, too.
Right, adaptation makes sense.
It's a really clear genetic and environmental story playing out right there on their skin.
It's quite unique, I think, to see such stark variations within one nation. What about hair? Do we see this same striking duality reflected there?
Absolutely. Hair is another really clear marker. Those straight or wavy hair types, quite common among highland groups like the Merina and Betsileo. That's a direct Austronesian trait. Contrast that with the coastal regions, where curly and tightly coiled hair really dominates in groups such as the Sakalava and Antandroy. That strongly reflects their African ancestry.
And hair color, mostly dark.
Mostly black, yes. But we also see natural occurrences of dark brown and even some reddish tones in about, say, 5 to 7% of the population. That seems to be a bit more common on the coasts, too. This variation makes Madagascar one of the few places globally, really, with such distinct variation in hair type within a single nation. It's quite something.
So the genetic influence is clear in these visible traits, but what about things like height, build, facial structure? Are there similar distinctions there too?
Indeed. Anthropological studies highlight some notable differences. Take height and build. Merina highlanders, reflecting those Austronesian roots, tend to have slimmer builds on average. Average men are around 166, 168 centimeters, what's that, about 5'5", 5'6". Coastal groups, on the other hand, are often taller and more muscular on average. Men averaging maybe 170, 173 centimeters, so 5'7" to 5'8". This is influenced by their African ancestry and also environmental adaptation, like the particularly lean builds you see in the Antananarivo people in the arid south, adapting to scarce resources.
Fascinating. And facial structures, that's often what people notice first.
Yes, and facial structures are particularly striking, often what surprises outsiders. Highland groups frequently display narrower faces, those distinctive almond-shaped eyes we mentioned, and straighter noses, features strongly associated with Southeast Asian populations. Conversely, coastal communities typically exhibit broader noses, fuller lips, and maybe rounder faces, traits more commonly seen with African ancestry.
And where they mix.
Well, in mixed populations, you often encounter this really fascinating blend, maybe sharp cheekbones with rounded lips, or almond eyes paired with broader noses. It's truly a living mosaic of heritage. And, this isn't just a collection of striking features. It's a living, breathing refutation of simplistic racial categories. It really demonstrates how human history actively sculpts new identities, new forms of beauty that defy easy labels.
Yeah.
This striking duality often leads outsiders to struggle with categorization, asking, are they African? Are they Asian? But the truth is, as you can see, both perspectives are kind of correct. Malagasy people cannot be confined to a single box because their ancestry literally bridges two continents. It's a profound genetic marvel, really, showing how human adaptation and cultural synthesis can create something entirely new and unique.
So the physical evidence is just undeniable. It's written right there. But how did these two distinct ancestries, separated by vast oceans, how did they actually come to meet and blend on this single island? What's the migration story behind all this?
It's truly one of history's most epic and maybe less talked about voyages. It started with the first settlers, Austronesian voyagers. They arrived around maybe 1,500 years ago, so around 500 CE. These were incredibly brave seafarers with their roots in Borneo and the Malay archipelago, basically island Southeast Asia.
And they crossed the entire Indian Ocean.
The entire Indian Ocean, likely using outrigger canoes. It's an astonishing feat. They brought their distinct Asian genes, language, and culture to Madagascar. Then centuries later, between roughly the 9th and 13th centuries, a second major wave arrived, this time from East Africa.
Across the Mozambique Channel.
Exactly. A much shorter, though still significant, crossing. These are primarily Bantu-speaking peoples, a vast group from Central and Southern Africa. They settled mainly along the coasts initially.
So we have this incredible dual origin, foundational. Were there other influences over time, or was it primarily these two big migrations?
Those were the big ones, the foundational migrations. There were certainly smaller genetic contributions later on. Arab and Indian traders were active in the Indian Ocean trade for centuries, and they left a minor genetic mark. And there was some limited European admixture, mostly during the French colonial period.
Right.
But the fundamental story, the overwhelming genetic blueprint, remains this remarkable fusion of African and Austronesian heritage. And modern genetic studies confirm this picture really clearly. The Malagasy genome today is roughly 50% African and 50% Austronesian overall.
50-50, that's amazing.
Pretty much. And as we've already discussed, this balance shifts regionally, which directly explains those visual differences we just unpacked. It all connects.
You'd think such an amazing balanced blend of ancestries would be universally embraced, a clear source of national strength and pride. But it's rarely that simple, is it?
No, it often isn't.
What are the complexities of the sort of social and maybe even political implications of this unique heritage, especially within Madagascar itself?
That's a really crucial question. This striking duality in appearance has, at times, certainly sparked internal debates about what it truly means to look Malagasy. Our sources show that, historically anyway, some Highlanders have sometimes emphasized their closer ties to Asia, focusing on their Austronesian features, while some coastal groups often stress their connection to the African continent And it's true that these distinctions have sometimes influenced politics, with ethnic identity playing a role in, power dynamics and regional perspectives.
So it hasn't always been a smooth embrace of both identities then. How do historians tend to view these internal perspectives, and how does this unique identity challenge how outsiders see them?
Well, historians generally point out that this kind of conflict, or emphasis on one side over the other, often oversimplifies a much richer reality. Both African and Asian ancestries are equally Malagasy. The nation's profound uniqueness, its very strength, comes directly from that blend, not from choosing a side.
Right.
And globally, it's fascinating how often outsiders struggle to categorize Malagasy people, asking, are they African, Asian, something else? For many Malagasy people today, the answer is straightforward. They're both, and they embrace that identity with real pride.
That makes sense.
For many, appearance becomes deeply tied to heritage and a sense of resilience, this powerful combination, perhaps, of African strength and Asian ingenuity, metaphorically speaking. And while differences in looks might have contributed to some divisions in the past, our research indicates that national identity has actually been strengthening around this shared heritage in recent decades.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there was a 2019 survey, for example, that found over 80% of Malagasy respondents viewed their mixed ancestry as a unifying feature, rather than a source of discord.
Wow, 80%. That's a strong majority.
It really is. It speaks to a growing sense of shared Malagasy identity that embraces the complexity.
It's a powerful narrative, isn't it? As we kind of wrap up this journey, let's take one more moment to visualize this blend. You picture a farmer, maybe, in the Merina Highlands, with those almond eyes and bronze skin, tending a terrace rice paddy, a direct link to those Austronesian roots.
Yeah.
Then you travel to the Sakalava coast, where fishermen, perhaps with taller, more muscular frames and deep ebony skin, are pulling nets from the Indian Ocean. Very different visually.
Completely different settings, different looks.
And then in any bustling market, anywhere on the island, really, you'll see these traits blend effortlessly. Maybe a child with curly hair but almond eyes, or a woman with sharper cheekbones and fuller lips. It's one island, so many different faces, but all telling this one profound story.
Beautifully put.
So to bring our deep dive full circle, Madagascar really remains a singular place on this planet. Its people are almost equally African and Asian in ancestry, maybe uniquely so on a national scale. And it's this extraordinary blend that makes the Malagasy look so distinctive. Their human diversity truly mirrors the island's famous biodiversity. It's complex, it's unique, and it's impossible to simplify.
A perfect analogy.
So what makes Madagascar's people look so different? Ultimately, it's the weaving together of African and Asian migrations, shaped further by geography, climate, and centuries of history on the island itself. It's a testament to human movement, adaptation, and connection. And as you reflect on this, maybe consider this. What can Madagascar's uniquely blended identity teach the rest of the world about the very nature of human connection, about identity, and maybe about cultural synthesis in our increasingly interconnected age? Should identity always be about choosing, or is there power in being both at once?